arrested in a new RICO indictment, along with another
And all
named Kenny
out.
Robinson as the killers. It's not that surprising that it was O-Block on the hit, but it's just crazy that it was done by dudes as well known as Moo-Wop. But now we see more of the reason why he was so well known.
Remember last night because I blacked out, and I always
just. He was actually there that night in Atlanta when Von died. He was also a member of O-Block, known for being a real demon. He was right there with Von as one of O-Block's top shooters, which is why they was good friends. Moo-Wop was supposedly behind some real big hits, including the shooting of Wooski at Dooski the Man's funeral. The other dudes in the case, C-Thing, Los, and C-Murder, were also rappers from the area who were part of Von's crew. The streets was already talking, saying they had something to do with Duck's murder. Right after Duck died, Von got changed for everyone from O-Block, even dudes that wasn't rappers. Many saw it as a gift for taking out one of his biggest ops. Plus, fans questioned C-Thing on IG Live about Duck's death, forcing him to end the video. But up until now, it was all rumors. All 5 men were charged with murder in the aid of racketeering for their involvement in the murders of FPG Duck. They also got charged with assaulting 2 unnamed victims that were with Duck, as well as a few gun charges. The charges carry a minimum of life in prison with the possibility of the death penalty. FPG Duck getting knocked off wasn't too shocking because of his reputation. He was loved and respected in his neighborhood. Nigger! He had a lot of enemies. He refused to move out of the city, even though he was about to sign a $1.7 million deal with Sony before he got killed. Unfortunately, rappers from gangs die every day in Chicago, especially those with as many ops as FPG Duck. So, it probably wouldn't have got as much attention if it ain't happened in broad day in one of the richest areas in the city. Plus, Mama Duck pushing to find her son's killers probably added pressure to the investigation, so the feds cracked down to make an example out of the killers. C-Murder, Los, Moo-Wop, and C-Thing got arrested on October 13th and pleaded not guilty. Kenny was already locked up for another murder of a man named Lorenzo Moore who got killed in January. And he's still fighting a gun charge in 2019. We don't know exactly what police have that tied him to the murders. But seeing that it's a Fed case, it ain't looking too good for any of them. Unless there's some kind of evidence that'll prove their innocence, they'll probably end up taking a plea deal to avoid a life sentence or the death penalty. But as of now, it's too early to tell how strong the case is. We'll tap in for updates. But they wasn't the only ones from O-Block to get caught up with the law recently. OTF Boona, a rapper connected to Lil Durk, was recently arrested for a shooting at a mall in Atlanta where a 6-year-old got shot. Let's dive into what happened. OTF Boona is signed to Lil Durk's label, Only the Family. He's from 300 in the Lamron set of the BDs and came up with other rappers like Durk, Von, and Lil Reese. He can be seen in the background of one of Chief Keef and Lil Reese's first music videos in this remix. Boona was a real savage in the streets way before rap and was one of Durk's main shooters. So when Durk made it, he signed Boona to his label and moved him out to Atlanta. Boona has been one of Durk's day one homies and even saved him once after a fan got too close at a show. In a video posted to social media, Durk is seen walking through the area between the stage and the barricade when a fan who made it past security tries to run up to him while he's walking. Boona, who was walking with Durk, sees the kid coming and pushes him out of the way before he gets to Durk. So Boona may be a full-time rapper, but he's still gonna protect Durk at all costs. But I guess Boona just couldn't leave the streets alone, and recently he was involved in a shooting out in Atlanta. In late September, Boona got arrested and hit with 4 charges, including aggravated assault with intent to murder. He's currently being held in Cobb County Jail in Georgia. News outlets report that Boona was SUV and fired several shots. This happened in the parking lot of a Buffalo Wild Wings outside the Cumberland Mall in Atlanta back in March. Suspects in another car also fired back at Boona. 4 people got injured, including a 6-year-old boy who got hit by a stray bullet. When police pulled up, they found a boy sitting on the sidewalk with a gunshot to the leg. He and the other victims was rushed to the hospital, and all 4 would survive. 2 of the victims were later arrested after police questioned them and found out they had been involved in a shooting. A 3rd man brought to the hospital was also charged, but got listed as a victim of an aggravated assault. There ain't too many details of the shooting, but it sounds like it all started from a fight between 2 groups of dudes. Police arrested 18-year-old Ronnie Reese, 19-year-old Jacoba Harris, and 19-year-old Deshaun Powell back in March. They all facing gun and drug charges, but Harris is the only one accused of firing shots. He's also being charged with possession of marijuana with intent to distribute after police searched his car, found a large quantity of weed, a scale, $12,000 in cash, and multiple guns. But police were still looking for the shooter who fired at them in the Dodge Durango. Come to find out, Boona's downfall will be his own carelessness. because the police linked him to the shooting after finding his phone in the parking lot. They found a cell phone at the scene of the crime on the day of the shooting. He got a warrant to find out what was on it.
Oh,
They were comparing photo.
that nigga's so annoying. All he do is run his mouth. All he does is run his mouth every day. Blah, 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 blah.
He could have left it there from earlier. Maybe he was there when it went down, but wasn't the one firing shots. But if he really hopped out of a moving car and let off shots, it probably wasn't too hard to drop his phone. The police could also have other reasons to believe the phone belonged to the shooter, like surveillance footage from the parking lot. As of right now, it's too early to tell if Buna's going down or if it's just a case of mistaken identity. But the shooting happened at a mall in a quiet part of Atlanta, and a little kid got hit in the leg, so the cops are definitely gonna crack down. But Buna being the only OTF member in Atlanta that's in trouble. Lil Durk is still facing an attempted murder charge that he caught with King Von back in 2019 after a shooting at the Varsity Drive-In. And with Von getting killed in Atlanta back in 2020, leaving Chicago didn't really help to completely escape the violence. Now, Durk is gonna be coughing up a lot of money. So far, there's no evidence to connect him to either crime. Him, his homies, and the rest of his team know about it. And it don't matter how solid you are. When you're facing the possibility of life, or even worse, death, you're gonna feel tempted to tell. So if Durk and OTF want to stay on top of the situation, they better pay up for some attorneys or pay their bail so nobody feels abandoned. They posted for updates in both of these cases.
Is Viviro produced slave labor?
When Yana becomes paradise, my methods. No one to look at. Play it on the all-new Xbox.
Explosive charge set.
Rappers in Jacksonville don't just make the stories for the college. This new generation of artists has gotten famous for rapping about real beef, crimes in the city, including shootings, murders, robberies, kidnappings, and more. Let's take a look at some actual rap lyrics that actually happened. Boys got kidnapped, they got Where's Corbin? Julio Beatbox Remix. Jacksonville rapper Spot'em got him with the track Beatbox in 2020. It was remixed by a ton of major names in the game, including Spot'em got him's homie, Julio, who dropped his own version of a viral track where he name drops a bunch of real people in Jacksonville, including a dude named Corbin who was killed during a kidnapping. Corbin Johnson was an 18-year-old from Jacksonville whose remains were found by police after he'd been missing for exactly a year and was last seen by his mother. On the day he went missing, he FaceTimed his friend and told her he was going to apply for a job at Amazon. His father confirmed that he had dropped him off for the interview at Amazon. They drove him to UPS to apply there as well. Corbin's father then brought him to his mother's house to gain services after the job interview. His father sent him a text the next morning, but didn't get a response, which he said was unusual. After the family was not here for 48 hours, they officially filed a first report. For about a year, the case went cold. Police had no lead on what might have happened to Corbin. Until just about a year later, a man was clearing some land with a tractor in the northwest side of the city. He uncovered what looked like human remains that had been wrapped in either a plastic bag or a tarp. By that point, the body had already decomposed, and all that was left was the bones. But it was later confirmed they belonged to Corbin Johnson. Police had little evidence to launch an investigation, and his murder remains unsolved. The word on the street is that Corbin was set up by a girl he knew who sold him out to the Ops. They kidnapped him over his drug debt that one of his homies owed, and when they refused to pay up, they killed Corbin and disposed of his body. This is an unconfirmed rumor, but would explain why he suddenly went missing. Julio had mentioned Corbin said he was alive, and he was for his fear, and enough like Corbin. That's my worst biggest fear. It doesn't seem like he had anything to do with Corbin's disappearance, even though he talks about him in a song. Unless he's trying to make it look that way. In a different song, Julio raps about one of his childhood friends who ended up catching a murder charge because he wasn't covering his face with a mask. His last name wore a mask. Never cared, Julio. No Face, aka Cracker Jack, was one of Julio's day one homies. The two had known each other since at least middle school and came up in the streets together. But while one was going to become a famous rapper, the other would be sentenced to life in prison after the murder of 22-month-old Aiden McGlendon. In January 2016, No Face and another associate went to take out a man named Reginald Williams. Williams had just been dropped off at his house by his cousin, Tamesia Brown, who was driving a car that also contained Aiden McGlendon and his great-grandmother. Just after Williams got out of Brown's car, he approached another vehicle, but then turned and walked away. As he turned around, shots started going off. The shooters missed Brown, but they ended up hitting Aiden in his car seat. He was rushed to the hospital in critical condition and later passed away. His death was a major shock to the city of Jacksonville and forced the police to crack down on gang violence in the city. About a week later, police pulled over Henry Hayes IV, aka No Face, while he was driving across the car. They discovered a 9mm pistol and later determined that it matched the murder weapon that had killed Aiden. So just a week before his 17th birthday, No Face was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Police also arrested second suspect named Kwame Richardson, who they believe also shot at Williams on the day of Aiden's murder. Tamisha Brown later testified in court that she recognized No Face as the killer because Kwame was wearing a mask. She told the court, "I heard large pops. I paid attention to the person I could see because he was hanging out the window with a gun." She said that she saw Kwame first, but he was wearing a mask, so she didn't pay close attention to him because she couldn't see his face. Instead, she focused on No Face, who was leaning out of the car with no mask and both hands on a 9mm. Both men were found guilty of the murder and sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Aiden McClendon. In this bar, Julio was talking about how his childhood friend might have beat the case if he was wearing a mask, but he got sloppy and a 1-year-old tragically lost his life. But if you thought that was wild, Julio also disrespected an op named Big Baby who got shot and killed at a bus stop. Big Baby called it the bus. Julio dropped out of high school in the 9th grade after he was shot while getting off the school bus. He got shot because earlier that day, a dude from a rival gang named Big Baby had been killed while waiting for the bus. In December 2014, Big Baby was waiting for a bus near 13th Street and Canal Street around 6:30 a.m. A family friend said that she had dropped him off to go to school just minutes before he was killed. Neighbors reported hearing as many as 15 shots, and police later found at least 12 shell casings at the scene. By the time authorities arrived, Big Baby was already dead. Big Baby played football at the local high school and was well known and loved by many people in the community. Julio went to the same high school, but was in an op neighborhood. Everyone at school thought Julio had something to do with Big Baby's murder because the 2 gangs had beef. On a live stream of Aiden Ross, Julio talks about that day. He said that he had nothing to do with the murder and was on his way to school when it happened. But kids at his school still thought that Julio was the killer.
So when I went to school, everybody was walking up to me, but they say you had something to do with such and such time. I'm like, oh, when I was really on the way to school, like, yeah, police came and interrogated me about the shit and all that when I was in the hospital shot. So boom.
It got so bad, he was about to fight 3 different people. Then he ended up getting on their bus, even though he had smoked with almost everybody. He ended up getting off in the area called Aaron Drive. When he got off the bus, he sat down to roll up some weed. While he was rolling up, someone pulled up and shot at him. He got up to run away, but ended up getting shot in the head. He saw the shooter was still going after his friends, so he decided to army crawl away. He managed to make it to a random lady's yard and asked for help, but the woman wasn't having none of that and told Julio to get out of her yard. He told her he was shot, but she didn't care and still told him to get out. So he decided to play dead on her lawn until the shooter was gone. He eventually made it to a hospital and had to have 4 surgeries to repair his hip. The police interrogated him about Big Baby's murder while he was recovering, but later cleared his name. After that, Julio never returned to high school because he felt it was too dangerous. He and rappers he's affiliated with, like K-So, would often diss Big Baby in their music, the same way rappers from Chicago dissed Tuka and Lil Mark, who also died while waiting for a bus. So, he may not have had anything to do with the murder, but his ops still aren't happy about the constant disrespect of their dead homie. But Julio isn't the only one to rap about real situations going on in Jacksonville. This next rapper brought up the death of one of Julio's close homies, Rod K. Rod K died because he freezed up. Spinna Benz is a rapper associated with Million A and the KK gang. He was featured on the famous Who I Smoke song, which is a murder anthem dedicated to disrespecting dead friends and family members of Julio and his gang. That wasn't the only time that ATK was taking shots at Julio and his music. On this track, Spinna Benz disrespects rapper Rod K, who got killed in some hilltop apartments in November 2020. Rod K had just started to build a buzz with tracks like Strap Story and Hot Boys. It seemed like he might be the next rapper from Jacksonville to blow up, thanks to his emotional rapping style and his affiliations with Julio. But before he could reach his full potential, he was tragically murdered. On November 20th, 2020, police responded to a call about gunshots being fired in the parking lot of the Hilltop Village Apartments in the Mount Creek neighborhood of Jacksonville. Paramedics arrived and found 2 gunshot victims in the parking lot. At first, it seemed like their injuries were not life-threatening, but Rod would later pass away after being brought to the hospital. Rod K's death came just a day after the murder of another KTA affiliate, going by the name Spaz 2X. Spaz was also killed in the parking lot of Hilltop Village Apartments, leading police to believe the shootings were related. There are several theories about what happened to the kid. Some say that he went out looking for the person who killed Spaz, and ops got the drop on him first. Others claim that he was even set up and backdoored by his own people. Whatever happened to Rod, it's no surprise at this point that Julio's
Friendly UAV overhead. Just leave, bro. Ah.
Well done. Gas is closing in. Enemy UAV overhead. Friendly UAV overhead. Fire over here. Gas is closing. Get to the new safe zone. Fire station active. Fire station closing.
Fucking sweat, bitch.
The last one is in.
Coming up.
Enemy. Gas inbound. Safe zone relocated.
Oh, that.
Not do that again. Hostile target. Fire here.
Enemy soldier incoming. Fire visible. I'm hit.
No.
I'm hit. I'm hit. An enemy team is hunting you. Stay alert. Wait for the fire zone. Running the back door.
Waypoint marked.